Well, hi there, and welcome back to Lies and Scandal Book Response Review.
Woo! For Lies and Scandal Lit, and I am Scandal.
And I am Lies, and we're looking at Here There Are Monsters from Amelinda Berube. So in this case, Lies, performed the book.
Yes.
And Scandal then had to go and read it. Ha!
Or listen to you. There's always that option, you know.
That's true.
Shockingly, in this world of book and audiobook readers, one can also listen as well as read. Anyway.
All right, so I found this one to be actually fairly standard feeling. I only did the first 2 chapters, and that got a pretty solid space of time, so I didn't want to go further than that. But like, it felt really standard, like teen, creepy, sort of, drama kind of thing. Nothing really stood out about it to me, unfortunately. Like, for a horror book, which it's not, I don't think it's deep horror. It didn't really imply that it was going to be deep horror, more that it was going to be like family drama and challenge, but that it was going to go scary.
Actually listed as horror?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the genre is actually listed as horror, and that it's couched in basically a family struggle, basically sort of the, this idea of sisterhood, or the bonds of sisterhood turning bad, or basically the connection between sisters somehow working out poorly, or taxing things. Anyway, what did you think?
I was kind of, like, it was interesting enough. There were things about, like, so, Deidre, the sister to Skye, who is the main character that you mostly interact with, it seems, at least based off the first 2 chapters, right?
Well, it's first person out of her head, so,
yes. Well, the thing is it starts, though, with her name on the chapter title, so I'm assuming actually it shifts to someone else. So I don't know who else is going to be talking, so I'm just assuming Deidre and someone else will, or excuse me, I guess it was just about...
Skye's the one talking.
But it's about
and
Deidre.
about Deidre.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
So it should all be in her perspective.
Oh, dang. Well, I'm a dingus. Ignore what I've said.
That's right.
So the thing is, like, it was interesting for me because I liked some of the details about Skye.
Right.
And I mostly actually liked the details about Deidre, but what it instantly reminded me of, honest to God, was Bridge of Terabithia, or the Bridge to Terabithia, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Now, I know if you ever grew up like I did, where that book was frickin' everywhere for a while, because everyone was like, oh my God, there's this tragedy, and blah, 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 blah. I couldn't put it down while I was reading it. Like, it just kept haunting the back of my mind, going, Bridge of Terabithia. And then it would be like, Bridge of Terabithia, like Bridge of Terabithia. Okay, and there's a lot of tones. So basically, it's this thing of going, you have this disenfranchised, and in the Bridge of Terabithia, it was basically a manic pixie dream girl. But in this one, you have Skye's younger sister, who sort of does that, but she seems so disassociated, actually, that she's now actually caused problems for her family. It's not in the endearing, cute thing of being the manic pixie dream girl. It's actually even caused Deidre problems, like at school, making friends, anything else. There's an implied, actually, even, like, horrible background or some event that has occurred between the two of them that basically, so they had this big, huge, basically long fantasy role play that they had with each other growing up over the years.
Yep.
And Deidre and Skye had this event that occurred that their whole life sort of fell apart, apparently. That whole fantasy life basically fell apart.
Is that what that felt like to you?
Kind of.
Okay, like, so for me, there basically is if you haven't listened, I recommend you do go and listen, but, or if you've read it and you're just here for a review, in the first 2 chapters, what it felt like really was with, Skye going, I have this sort of buried memory of the past, that basically something bad happened, but it doesn't necessarily stop them from playing. What was really
it just starts interfering a lot, though, doesn't it?
Not really. Not the way I read it.
Okay.
The way I read it was basically that she was hoping to sort of end all that and step away from the attachment to her sister by moving to the new town and suddenly being in a different school.
Right.
That since Skye's played protector and advocate and intervener for her sister for so long, to the point of being exhausted, and also wondering when the heck her little sister's going to grow up and, take care of herself, there could be a level of enabling going on there. But also this experience of her going, now that we're moving somewhere new, I can break from attachment to my sister. Let her do whatever she wants to do, because I won't have to interact if I don't have to see it, because I'll be in my own school, my own self.
Well, then whatever that inciting incident was, I don't know, just for me, again, like, I will agree with you, there's a lot of it that I thought was pretty bland. I hate to say it, like, I will agree with you, like, there were things I liked. Like, I loved the descriptors of, honestly, Deidre's, like, world building and her ability to, like, create characters.
The queens were very fun.
That was so cool. Like, it was really interesting. All I wanted to know was what that was about. Like, honestly, I
wanted to spend time in your fantasy world, not in your real world.
Because it wasn't interesting. Her parents, so Skye and Deidre's characters' parents, both of them, and I say her mostly referring to Skye at this point, because Skye's the only character you actually spend really any amount of time with in the first 2 chapters. Her parents are characteristically, I would say stereotypically, unfortunately, disenfranchised. They're having basically relationship breakdown. It's very typical juvenile, young adult novel.
I felt like very standard setup of your parents are not available. They're emotionally exhausted and they're involved in their own things. So what we're setting up for is that Skye's going to have to solve everything on her own, which feels very standard, like juvenile teen fiction. We have to separate the child from the adults so that we can write them by themselves.
And is pretty damn dismissive and feels...
Of adults?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, I understand the concept that adults were also kids once, and many of them aren't really prepared to have kids or deal with a lot of problems, or especially at least in American society, you're taught to sort of, do your own thing, right?
Balance your time management with your parenting.
Right? But it's also like, nobody in this story, at least in the first 2 chapters, seems to actually... So, spoilers, Deidre goes missing. If you haven't heard it yet, you should go do it.
But that's what the book's for. But that's what specifically, it's for. It tells you on the back of the book she goes missing.
Right,
so not
but the
really
thing is the other adults that seem to show up don't really seem interested in basically trying to help the parents. Or at least it's the beginning. And again, it's the first 2 first 2 chapters, I will say, 2 episodes. But it's sort of like, it feels too stereotypical, like they really won't honestly try to help the adults much. They're more just going, well, you seem like a wreck, and we're going to end up taking your only child, as far as we know right now, from you eventually, which bothers me.
So that's what you were projecting, that basically they were doing the social services of, maybe your kid shouldn't be here anyway. See, I didn't get that one.
I did, because I was like, there's a level of, like, you being invasive and going, here's my number, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it was very... That's again, like, it got really tropey to me in that area.
The teen fiction and juvenile fiction that I've read, that kind of thing is basically not a, you can call me, I'll take you out of here. It's more like, look, you might not be able to talk to your parents effectively because you're at that age. Just call me anytime if you ever need something.
Right.
But at any rate, again, it felt very standard. Like, I was hoping, again, the world building of her little sister, and that they did have this complex play world was
even any interesting hook, though.
But you didn't have, there was no hook at the beginning. The rising action sort of, or the, start the story during something happening, they were moving, but it didn't feel like anything was really happening. It felt very calm. And the only thing that we really touched on was, I have some hidden drama,
there was a lot of exposition.
Like, and the main character, Skye was very much like, I'm going to describe everything to you about myself and other things for a while. And then I'm going to make it clear that I have some trauma in the past that's buried, but I don't want to dig it up.
Right.
And then my sister's going to go missing, and it's going to be somewhere, because of what I built up and have basically whined about, a burden to me, even that she's gone. And so there's this level of drama of going, she's now still a burden, even when she's not here, because her very missing is a problem.
Right.
So it was a little overly dramatic, but again, also very, very par for the course feeling. So I'm hoping that the plot itself gets more interesting. There were some good, ratings for this book, and I don't know where it goes beyond that, but it didn't project itself as going somewhere interesting. It felt very standard. You're going to keep reading this, even though there's not a strong hook or way to pull you in, simply because it's horror and you want to read horror. And a lot of horror starts fairly subtle, but if you know that's what it is, you keep reading.
Right.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. Like, I was honestly surprised, though. So we were kind of giggling when I was talking at the table, and I was like, it was a damn horror? You're kidding. I was just like, really? But anyway, so for me, though, I guess final thoughts is going, there are monsters, has the potential to be interesting. I will say there's no requirement, actually, to have a hook in a book. For this one, though, because it felt so tropey and so rote, I kind of honestly would have wished it would have had more of one. I feel like, honestly, since you pointing out to me that it was horror, it makes sense as to why it got published in that sense, because to me, again, it just feels too rote. It feels like very well-tread ground.
Yes.
So,
and again, I hadn't thought about it, because again, I went in expecting, horror build-up and teen fiction sort of build-up, which I'm familiar with.
No.
But my good friend here did not know. And so that was an interesting experience between us. But for me, there was a lot of it that indicated, this could be creepy, but you're looking for creepy, if you know. And if you just picked up the book without knowing it was supposed to be creepy, it really would get moving very slowly and have a large amount of tell rather than show.
God,
now,
yes.
Some of the tell is interesting, but some of the tell, as Scandal pointed out at one point, is very much like the big sister just whining about the burden of her life. So, final thoughts, if you like teen horror, this one has some potential. The writing itself is good. Like, the writing itself, as far as, syntax and prose and well-put-together sentences, and people sounding like people when they talk, generally pretty good. I didn't have a problem with anyone sounding completely fake.
I had problems with, again, the fact that I didn't know this was a horror.
But
this
the mom
really
and
came
dad...
off incredibly, again, very stereotypical. And that really bothered me. Like that whole scene in the kitchen, and there's the social worker and blah blah blah, and
Was
there's
that
the
actually in
cop.
the kitchen?
Yeah, or something, or
Okay.
whatever the crap it was. I don't even care. It just felt like it was in the kitchen. The parents are arguing over the table in the most stereotypical way you could possibly imagine. They're suddenly bringing up all their marital problems. Oh, well, when you decide to come home from work at 4, 5, like a grandma, I'm like, wow, this is like
And
every
so,
drama. Anyway.
again, it was very much like establishing that these are the problems. And what it felt like to me was a setup to we're going to remove the parents from the picture because clearly they're occupied with other things. That's what that literary experience felt to me.
Yep.
But I would just say that reading, I felt like the author was an experienced author and knew what they were doing. It didn't read like a first novel to me. Not that it is a first novel, but that's important to me because I actually have a hobby of sort of wanting to, like identifying first novels by just reading them because a lot of brand new authors have a lot of things in common. Anyway, I am Liz.
And I am Scandal.
And please, check out the rest of our channel. Additionally, we do have a Let's Play channel called Simply Lies and Scandal, and it was lovely having you here.
So great. And if you want to check out any of our other book reviews or listen to any other books we do, please subscribe and please comment if you enjoy. We are doing more in the future for sure.
Yes, we're going to be regularly posting these, as well as if you have a book that you'd want us to read a preview for and then review that, we would love to hear it. Take care of yourselves out there.
Bye!